Alright boys, this one's gonna be long. We're talking about RID Megatron today, the Transformer officially with the most modes, having a grand total of 11. We're starting in robot mode, boys, and speaking of starting, go start following me on Patreon and joining the Discord. Need to get that done. This figure is absolutely fantastic, by the way. I love all the details here. The head sculpt is so unique with the flared ears and the claws on the face. He looks kind of Megatron, kind of Beast Wars Megatron, which makes sense since this is kind of a Beast Wars toy. Like, I don't know, it's so unique and interesting, and the posability on this guy is absolutely fantastic, especially for 2001. Like, he has almost everything you'd want him to have, which is just out of this world, really. And like I said, this guy has to turn into 11 things, so having a cohesive robot mode that is this cleaned up is kind of impressive. It's kind of really impressive. But it also, means that, the other modes might not look so much. He has all these really nice details, like these red orbs and his Predacon gem right in the middle of his chromed out chest, as well as the other little chrome bits that adorn this guy, such as on the wings and on his head and back. It's really, really nice how much detail was put into this guy. The RID toys are just amazing. Here he is compared with his fellow Predacon general, Skybite, his Decepticon disciple, Scourge, and then his Predacon stooges, Slapper, Gasskunk, and of course, Darkscream. And we can't forget the boys, Laserfire and Machine Wars Hoist. Man, oh man, this guy would probably be Commander class if they had to make him today. This is RID01 Megatron. I absolutely love this figure if I haven't gloated about it enough. We're going to start in robot mode, obviously, and we're just going to cover articulation. So to do that, we're going to take his weapons away, and I just want to say that this guy's articulation is phenomenal for 2001. Like, you'll see as we go. So starting us off, we do have a swivel at the head, not a ball joint, but a swivel, and his ears do move, so you can get them out of the way. Mine has some chrome chipping on it, but that's okay. Whose doesn't, am I right? Then he has 360 ratchets at the shoulder, which just get hindered right there. Ratchets outward, and the shoulder pads do move. Bicep swivel, so 360 at the bicep, and as you heard, ratchets at the elbow, so keep up with me here. And then he does have wrist swivels too, so like, that's modern articulation right there in the arm. That's insane. No waist swivel because he has a gimmick built into him. And then going down to the legs, these do kind of get out of the way. You can move his belt buckle around. They don't really tab in, they just kind of sit there. Before we're going down, hang on, we actually do have some hinges at the wings, so hinge here, and the wings can flare out, as well as this little tooth bit can move. I believe there's some other stuff that moves. I think these are supposed to be wheels. Yeah, there we go. Those are wheels of some variety. They're a little dusty. Mine is a bit dusty here. Legs go forward. Legs go back on very heavy ratchets. Go out. Pretty good. Thigh swivel. Here's where it gets cool. So he has his normal knee joint here, but because of some of his transformations, he can get a double knee bend? Like, a double ratchet knee bend? That's kind of insane. And as you can see right here, he does have ball jointed ankles, so they can go back, forth, they can pivot side to side a little bit, and they are on his dragon mouths, so they can completely close, so he has toe and heel articulation, and of course, because it is a ball joint, it does swivel. So the only joint that this guy is missing in his robot mode is in fact the waist swivel, which is absolutely insane. Like, this is, like, if I got this in 2001, I would be blown away by the amount of articulation is on this dude, because I think this guy was leader class. I think he was either leader or mega, meaning he was like 30 or 40 bucks. He was, which is expensive for back then, but at the same time, you're really getting your bang for your buck here. Insane. Absolutely insane. Next up, we have the Bat mode, or the Gargoyle mode. He says Bat mode in the show, so that's what I'm going to call this. And it has some dedicated parts, like the muzzle, but I think that might be the only dedicated part in this mode. It looks fine. He's kind of just doing like a weird handstand with his legs folded behind him. The wings do flap in this mode, which is nice. And
yeah, there's not really a lot to say. Nothing really locks in. He kind of just ratchets into place and then sits like this. It's a good mode overall, though. I'll give it that. I like the bat mode, especially how often they show it off in the show. Here is it compared with Scourge. He loses a lot of height here, so you can just see how short this figure gets. And of course, Skybite, who's really big.
I wanted to start in bat mode because bat mode in the show is his beast mode. He doesn't say, you know, bat mode. He says Megatron beast mode and turns into the bat. So I wanted to point that up and talk about this. I also wanted to use this to mention a problem that we'll see in the other modes, which is that nothing tabs in. Like the legs just kind of hang out back here and the arms are just floating. So a lot of these modes are like up to interpretation, essentially. There's also a lot of like parts that are designed just for one mode, such as the dragon arms, the bat muzzle. This gets used in a few things, but it's obviously a cockpit. And then he does have dedicated landing gear somewhere. I will find it and I will point it out to you guys when I get there. But yeah, there's bat mode. Almost no articulation.
Alright, our first vehicle mode, and it's the jet mode. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty underwhelmed by this mode when I first got my hands on it. It does have dedicated landing gear for this mode specifically, which is nice, but having handled the jet mode a little bit more, I like it. I think it works really well, and I think it looks really cool, like a dragon turned into a jet. It works really, really well for me. Yeah, I think this one is a winner in terms of vehicle mode, and it's definitely the one out of all the vehicle modes. I wanted to show this one off first. It's also huge.
This jet mode is big. I don't know if it came through just how big this thing is. The wingspan is huge. Like it's like an axe when you hold it like this. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just a large jet mode, and it's hefty. It makes him feel heavier than he actually is, which is really interesting. I like the way the arms kind of flow backwards onto the wheels here, and then work with the landing gear to form the other landing gear. Again, it's one of those modes where nothing quite lines up just right. You have to get the ratchets, and it's like implied, and this landing gear keeps popping out of place. But I mean, it's a good mode. I'm glad they threw it in because it's very cool. I also like the idea that this is like a Transmetal 3, so it makes sense because the Transmetals had like vehicle modes, so it makes sense that this has like not just beast modes built into it, but also some vehicle modes. And it does have some pseudo dedicated parts like the dragon neck cockpit thing here, which is really, really cool to see. And of course the landing gear, which is also nice. But yeah, a pretty good mode overall. Definitely one of the better ones on this figure.
So here we go, we have him in his dragster or car mode. Very Cybertron Megatron, and if like I'm being honest, the wheels here do roll. They do roll pretty well. I imagine roll better if you have a newer copy that isn't full of dust like mine is. And I think it's okay. Mine's a little scuffed because the hinges won't bend all the way forward, and I'm not gonna force them. But yeah, I mean, it's a solid car mode in terms of just like folding up a dragon and making it into a car. Like, this works. I think it works pretty well, all things considered. It looks pretty nice, and it looks very mean too, which I like about it. Just a violence car. It's also pretty large. Here's Machine Wars hoist for scale. You can just see how big it is.
Yeah, so my car mode on this guy is kind of scuffed because the joints right here on these hinges are really tight, and I am not going to force it on this guy because got it for a good price and I am not breaking it. But yeah, no, really cool car mode. The wheels on the rear do roll pretty well. These wheels are pretty stiff on mine, but I mean, it does roll, which is really cool. If you could get it like fully set up, it would roll, and you can see the wheel back here doing its best to do that. It is long, and out of the vehicle modes, it looks pretty good. It's pretty acceptable. It even has like a spoiler that you can kind of make if you flare these out a little bit. Like it kind of works. You could, you know, woo, give them some crazy things going on there. But yeah, no, the dragster mode kind of works for me. Yeah, another winner on the vehicle mode list here.
Next up, we're coming up on one of the weaker modes, the Hydrofoil. Now, this was added whenever they turned this guy into Galvatron, but Yeah, it's definitely just the Dragster, but like stretched out. It's not a good mold, and it sits on the chrome, which is really annoying because it means it could scratch, especially on a figure this old. Yeah, definitely one of the weakest vehicles.
I know this segment isn't very long, and that's essentially just because the boat mode is just the car mode, but everything's dropped down a little bit. And this mode sucks. This is, I mean, like, it's fine. It's supposed to be a hydrofoil, but like the looseness right here, the fact that nothing plugs in, really hurts this mode like the most. It's fine. You're never gonna display it like this, nor turn it into this, except for this exact scenario. So it's fine. Also, it sits on the chrome. It sits right on the chrome on things, and yeah, no, don't do this to your Megatron.
Now we're getting into one of my personal favorites, the elephant mode. Elephants are my favorite animal, like IRL, so having a transformer that turns into one is pretty cool. That said, this is a silly mode. It's another Galvatron mode, and you can clearly tell the designers were just like putting stuff places and trying to figure it out. That said, I do like how this is done. The tusks being made from the swords, the dragon feet being used as elephant feet, and of course the bat ears being used as elephant ears, and the dragon head forming like a trunk and head. It's really, really clever and smart, and I think it's a good mode. It definitely has charm. Let me phrase it like that. And it's fairly large. Here it is next to Legacy Scourge and Laserfire and Skybite and all the other guys I've been comparing it to.
Elephant mode here. It's weird. It's different. Again, another mode you are never going to display this in. Now, a fun fact about like the elephant mode and some of these other modes, is that the original version of this, like, so this is the American version. On the Japanese version of Megatron, also known as Gigatron, it can't do the elephant mode. You kind of just have to rest this up there. But this one actually has the tabs necessary to do it. So uncommon, like, American version W, like, this version is better because it can do all 11 modes. Yes, 11, even though the box says 10 because the designer came out with an 11th one. We will talk about it. Yeah, no, very, very cool. I like how the swords form tusks and this as like a trunk and the wings as ears. Like, it works. It works to be a mode, and yeah, very, very different. I mean, you're never going to display it like this, and the back legs are a little guffed, but yeah, definitely an interesting one. Unique among Transformers, at least.
Here we have Griffin mode, one of the mythical modes that this thing can do, and solid contender here. This is a four-legged dragon thing, and it looks really good. He takes this mode on a couple times. I once again think that this is a Galvatron mode, because you never see Megatron take this mode on in the show, so this is a great addition to the lineup, in my opinion. Like, it just looks really cool, and it's imposing, and it's big, and I could definitely see some kid turning Galvatron or Megatron into this and swooping it down on their other Transformers. It really works, especially because you can have the swords on the back and have like a firing missile gimmick. Really, really cool. And of course, there's all those beautiful details that get shown off in this mode. It's kind of like almost a better dragon mode in a way. It's really nice.
Another real banger mode here. Megatron actually takes on these mythical modes really, really well. So you'll see with like this and the kaiju mode and the dragon mode that these mythical creature modes actually come out really well. The Griffin looks pretty good. I love the use of this as the head again, and then he has the arms kind of using the elephant feet or bat feet, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, just this kind of becoming a tail, with also like a firing gimmick that you can use in this mode is pretty good. I think this is another winner on here. Like, honestly, solid mode, solid like extra mode on this guy. Really cool.
So this is the winged dragon or the wyvern mode, and there's not a lot for me to talk about here. It's just like the whole thing flipped over. I do like that they invert it and kind of do a different thing, but it's essentially just the bat mode but spun around, and it's I don't know. It's not my favorite mode. I like this mode because it's unique, but aside from that, it really just is a bat mode redux. This is also another Galvatron mode, by the way, and it does stand just about as tall as the bat too. The winged dragon mode on this guy is cool looking, but it doesn't do anything. It just kind of sits here, which is fine. That's what a lot of the modes do, but for a dragon mode, you'd think something would, you know, be a little more prevalent. There's not even like a way to really get these. I mean, you can rotate them, like, or like peg them in kind of like right here and have them like fire, but like there's not really a good way to do anything with this mode. It's just one of those modes where they were like, oh well, it looks cool like this, it looks pretty neat. And I mean, I will say that the reversing the whole figure essentially to do like the front of the wings is pretty neat. I like that a lot. I think that's really cool. But aside from that, there's nothing really special about this mode. But like I said, it is neat to see them do something different with this. Now, who would have thought that a toy designer who made this 10 years after this thing came out would make a new mode for it, and that mode would then later be added to the Transformers Legends manga? That's how we get the Devil Ostrich mode, which, for all things considered, works out really, really well. Like, I mean, it looks good, it looks like an ostrich, sort of, and I'm impressed that they were able to squeeze one more mode out of this, not including any fan modes, because I know there's probably tons and tons and tons of fan modes for this thing. I just haven't looked into them. But this is the only one that's like a quote-unquote official fan mode, because it does show up in the Transformers Legends manga. Galvatron turns into this. It's crazy. Or I guess Devil Gigatron. Here it is compared with some other stuff, and you can see that he is pretty tall in this mode. Here he is with some deluxes as well as the Stooges. It's pretty impressive how big this guy gets in his Devil Ostrich mode. Alright, we're hitting the bottom of the barrel here with Ostrich mode. This is the unofficial, official mode, essentially. And there's not really a lot more to say about this mode that hasn't been said about the others. It has the dragon head again, and it looks neat. I mean, it's cool that the designer effectively found a new mode after like 10 years and was able to put it in the Transformers Legends manga. Like, that's pretty cool. But I mean, honestly, it's nothing to write home about. It's another animal mode, so it's kind of goofy and it vaguely looks like the creature it's supposed to be. But in this one's defense, it does look like an ostrich, and it's probably one of the better beast modes this thing can do. So, like, props to that, I will say. This, out of the weirdo beast modes, this is probably the best one, next to the bat. Now we're getting into it, boys. The hand mode. This is the first mode we see this Megatron in. This is how he's introduced in the show, and it can't stand up. You just kind of have to prop it up on something or put a stand on it or something, man. But it is a mode. It is a mode that exists on a toy that I own, and it's pretty silly, all things considered. I don't hate it, though. Like, I'm kind of into the big hand mode. It's really cool, and I think it's definitely one of those modes that if you haven't done this figure, you gotta put it into the hand mode just to, like, witness this for yourself. Alright, so this was kind of the mode I was dreading the most talking about, because, like, it's so awkward to wield and, like, maneuver. But I mean, this mode does have articulation in the fingers. He has at least a knuckle joint on each, and if you rotate these, he has 2 knuckle joints, so you can get some pretty good articulation out of his hand. And fun fact, this actually can connect to Omega Prime, so if you have Ultra Magnus and Optimus, for some reason this can form a big hand for him. And then there's also a gimmick right here if you untab this. So this mode does have dedicated, you know, parts. You can make it flex. You can make him grab with his giant hand. So, I mean, pretty interesting that the hand mode of all things has dedicated pieces and parts. Wish it had a dedicated way that it could stand up or display or something, but it is just a flying hand, so it's just meant to be like a fun mode that, you know, is just like, wow, I'm a big old hand, I guess. But yeah, pretty silly overall. But But, you know, when would we ever get this again? When would we ever see something like this on an actual Transformer again? Never. Never's the end. Oh, I guess Galvatron, but other than that, other than those two very specific examples, other than this mold, stop saying BotCon Megatron in the comments. Alright, there was no way we weren't ending on this one, the twin-headed dragon mode, Megatron's true beast mode, and there really is a lot of details that come out here. The heads are exclusive to this mode, the little arms are only used in this mode, and it's quite impressive. I love this two-headed dragon, and this is probably the best two-headed dragon we've ever gotten. There's only a few other Transformers I can think of that have a mode like this, that have a two-headed dragon as their beast mode, and RID Megatron really shines with his. It looks imposing, it's big, it's scary, it has insane colors on it, and whether or not you have this version or the Galvatron colors one, they both look impressive and amazing. And I love this twin-headed dragon. It's so good, it's so poseable, it's so emotive because of the ball-jointed necks on the dragons, as well as all the ratchets in the legs, because he's just doing like some crazy yoga poses this entire time, but then you get him to dragon mode. Anyways, for size comparisons, here he is with the Three Stooges, as well as his buddies Scourge and Skybite. Let's get them in there too. You can see that Thrilling 30 Skybite is just massive. I don't know why he's this tall. And then we got Scourge, and of course, Laserfire and Machine Wars Hoist. Gotta get in the photo too. The two-headed dragon mode, or the kaiju mode as my friend likes to call this one, is absolutely fantastic on this Dragon Megatron. I love this mode, and I think this is the mode this mold is known for the best, besides maybe the hand. But yeah, I mean, all the modes on Megatron are just him doing like extreme yoga, which I might have mentioned earlier, but this one kind of takes the cake where he just does a headstand and uses his feet bent in half as dragon heads. This mode does have articulation. It does have new pieces that only are used in this mode, as the dragon feet and these little arms, which they have ball joints at the shoulder and then ball jointed elbows, so pretty useful. And then the articulation in the dragon necks is the same as the legs. So ratchets here, swivels here, ratchet, there's a second ratchet up in there, and then ball joints. And then he has the jaw that is also now here, as well as the little ears that can flap and flicker. Speaking of the little ears, if you are looking to get this guy secondhand, do make sure that he has the ears and the arms. These are really common pieces to see not on him, so just make sure. I mean, it's one thing to be okay missing the weapons, because they are just kind of really basic weapons that don't really store anywhere on him or whatever. They're just kind of lame. But the ears and the arms are something that, if you are looking to get this guy secondhand, you want to make sure you have. The legs are also just the robot mode arms, but now with this. So yeah, overall, fantastic alt mode on this guy. This is probably its strongest mode, simply because so much is dedicated to it, and there's no real kibble here either. Or I guess it's not really backpack heavy or whatever, because the whole figure is kind of kibble. And now we come to the final thoughts here. RID01 Megatron is a great toy. If he's even a great like piece to add to your collection. He's so poseable for the time. He's a fantastic Transformer. He's a bit of a piece of Transformers history because he does have the most modes out of any Transformer. And I will say he's fairly affordable. I got mine for $40 complete. You can find him for anywhere from 50 to 80 complete too. And then there's the Galvatron Colors version, which also looks really nice. With that said though, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure to check out my Patreon and the Discord in the description. Happy Halloween! If you guys are watching it then. If you're not, then come back on Halloween and watch this on Halloween, so that makes sense. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. This has been Bots Obsession.